This is Toledo Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell. Joining me today are the Toledo Symphony's president and CEO, Zach Vassar, and principal second violin and artistic administrator, Merwin Siu. We're going to be talking about the final installment in the Festival of 88 that's happening this Saturday, March 3rd at 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon at Lourdes University, and a very special guest who's actually going to be calling in any moment now, and that is pianist and conductor William Eddins. He's going to be performing and conducting two piano concertos by Mozart, number 5 and number 20, and also conducting Beethoven, a symphony that we don't hear all that often, the Symphony number 4. It's kind of like, you know, the Cinderella of the bunch.
2 and 4. One, 2, and 4 kind of end up in that scenario, right?
Although I like 1.
1 is amazing.
1 is great.
And I do happen to like 2 a lot. I actually
like
think
2.
4 might be the one I know the least.
Yeah.
But whenever I listen to it, I say, why don't I listen to this more?
It's got a wonderful finale. I think it's got just sort of champagne and strawberries finale that's just so much fun to listen to. But it gets there from this a much darker and slow introduction.
Would that be more like a Kahlua and coffee?
Perhaps, yes.
Well, this is something that you can combine as part of the program,
That'd be great. That'd be great. Come in with a couple drinks in your hand.
Well, you're the boss. We heard it from you, so now it's okay.
I see it to be completely reasonable for the audience.
Great. I did forget to mention, by the way, if people are interested in learning more about the concert, they can go to the website at toledosymphony.com. They can also call that box office number. Let's hear the jingle, guys. 4193. What is it? 4193.
No, it's all even numbers.
Oh,
246 8000.
But 419 is not even. 419 246 8000.
Bingo.
So William Eddins is going to call in any moment now and try to save us here with the phone call. But before we get there, Merwin, give us a rehash on Festival 88. This is the last installment in the Festival of 88 keys, right?
And
Except are we using all 88 keys this time or no?
Probably not.
Okay.
It's still within the more circumscribed Mozart keyboard. Nonetheless, the idea of 8 piano concerti is kind of the driving force. The sense that we're bringing together 4 of Mozart's most famous concerti, and 4 that really Toledo audiences haven't heard. And it's kind of fitting that we're ending this with, we call it Mozart's 5th piano concerto, but it's really his first. It's his first original concerto. The 1, 2, 3, and 4 are kind of adaptations of Baroque composers, and Mozart orchestrated it and took sonata elements and then made them into a concerto. But Mozart, at the ripe old age of 17, wrote this 5th concerto, and it's a really, really great piece. I think it doesn't sound as
in
young.
terms of like champagne or Kahlua, where would you place it?
You know, I think there's more of a beer feel to it. I'm gonna go. I think
a dark beer or
craft
light beer.
Yeah.
No, I think it's kind of a down the middle of the road lager. Maybe I'm having trouble.
Middle of the road a good Canadian lager, right?
Oh, that I'm not sure that. That's the quota again. Every single time we need to make fun of something Canadian.
Or maybe it's just a Molson. Who knows?
Oh, that's not a good Canadian lager.
I used to drink Molson all the time in college. We thought it was great.
Do they still have Moosehead?
It was cheap.
They do have Moosehead.
Yeah. Well, welcome to our podcast about Canadian beer. In the meantime, let's talk about Mozart while we're waiting to talk about Canadian beer.
People talk about Mozart as being the greatest compositional prodigy. And I think, certainly in terms of kind of proclivity, I'm going to give that up.
Say by the phone.
We'll edit that
Let's see if
out.
we can bring William into the conversation. Hello there. Is this Maestro Eddins?
No, this is Philip.
I'm sorry. Wow. We're in a bit of a
giggle fest.
A giggle fest here. We started. Well, we were talking about Mozart, and somehow the discussion diverged over to Canadian beer, and so we.
I like it.
Yeah.
So, I like it.
Actually, we've turned into a beer podcast today. I hope you don't mind.
I'm a home brewer, so if you want to talk beer, I'll
one of
talk
those.
beer all day long.
Beer and Beethoven. That's what
Yeah.
we need.
There you go.
Beer and Beethoven concerts.
So, hey, Bill, I know it's kind of strange sometimes when you call in and everyone's laughing and talking and you don't know who you're really talking to. So I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Zach. I'm president of the Symphony.
Hi, Zach. How are you?
Doing real well. Thanks for joining us today.
No problem.
I'm Merwin. It's been a pleasure to talk with you, and looking forward to working with you in just a little bit.
Yeah. Merwin, I've met before. I know for sure.
Yeah.
Because, I'm excited. I've been fired up for this concert for months now. Just months.
Who are you again?
Brad, you.
They call me the Reaper.
The Reaper.
Don't fear the Reaper.
Don't fear it. Don't fear me.
So, Brad, you don't know this, but Merwin put something on my desk the other day, which was an email from Bill saying that he was really excited about this concert.
Also, he really wants the first and second violins separated. I
That's
think
right.
he knows
Yep.
our reputations already. We fight off, and it's a very good idea. He picked that up.
I had other reasons, Merwin. I did, but whatever works.
Not only separated, they have to sit in the corner and think about what they've done.
With dunce hats.
Right.
Right.
Just the seconds, though, not the firsts.
So, Bill, I'm Brad. As you can
Okay.
tell, we're a little loose around here right now.
I like to
Good
say this
answer.
podcast falls somewhere between music appreciation and wait, don't tell me.
Good answer.
I think
just
those
saw
are
a
both
taping.
compliments.
I just saw a taping just about 3 or 4 months ago. Wait, and it was a riot. We had the best time. Really,
That's
did.
great.
Loved
Were
it.
you in
Wow.
Chicago, or did they come to you?
They came here to Minneapolis.
That's great.
We were all fired up for that. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So let's talk about you a little bit and introduce you to the audience. You were here several years ago, right?
I believe so.
It was
Yeah.
a program that he was much less enthusiastic.
Yeah.
I was
I hear-
really not excited about.
Well, it was one of those things that I certainly knew of Bill's reputation, but I didn't know him as well. And so I somehow brought him here for a program centered around Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony,
And you
which,
strapped him
I
to the
love that
podium. And,
yeah,
I love that piece.
but not to the same degree that you loved this particular program.
Well, yeah. All right.
there were only 6 reelies instead of 10.
Right. Right. I mean, weirdly enough, Tchaik 5 is one of my 2 or 3 favorite pieces by Tchaikovsky. But the pieces that we have on this program, I mean, 2 out of the 3 of the pieces of this program are probably in my top 10 and might slip into my top 5.
So 2/3 of this program is worthwhile. That's what I'm hearing you say.
No, that's not what I said.
Can we guess the third?
This
Don't-
is how he
don't
gets to be president. Willful
don't
misinterpretation.
Don't put words in the conductor's mouth. We have enough words.
Conductors are to be seen and not heard.
Right. Even by someone else's words or whatever.
Yeah. So you've got Mozart and Beethoven.
Yep.
We know that you like at least one of the Mozarts, and right? We figure that way.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, what happened is when Merwin contacted me about this idea, I just about jumped through my computer trying to glom onto this, and my whole thought pattern was, whichever concerto is paired with K466, I'm doing that program.
Wow.
Wow.
And I was thinking, it's an early concerto. Yeah, it won't be that hard.
Really?
Well, it's annoying. That's what it is. I've talked to a couple other colleagues of mine who are pianists. They're like, yep, 175 is tricky. It's got little things in there that make you go, wait a minute. I just screwed that up because I went that way instead of this way. You zig instead of zagging. But
So people should hear this concert because it's annoying music.
I like the
No,
promo.
no.
I can see the promo already.
Because it's annoying him. That's why. We get to watch him be annoyed.
right, I mean that's good entertainment.
Will you
isn't
do
it?
me a favor and in a specifically annoying part? Will you just shake your head like
I'll be shaking my head all the time. I really will be.
That's because you're next to the second violins.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm going to be split between them, however. So I get to watch the volleys back and forth.
Nice.
But yeah, the 175. I mean, it has the distinction of being that first concerto that Mozart really wrote himself. Not based on anyone else's music. Right. And so you get to see kind of proto Mozart. He's experimenting. He's trying stuff out. He's like, I think I got my ideas here, and I think this is going to work. And so it's fascinating, especially when it's paired with one of the later concerti, because the later concerto, you see so many things that are pointing towards what's going to happen 10 or 12 years later in the later concertos that he's working on and trying to figure out in the early one. For me, it's a fascinating musicological experiment. Of course, I'm a nerd, but we won't go into that right now.
But let me ask you a question though, from an artistic standpoint. When you make a choice, how you're going to present and perform these two concerti, are you playing number 5 and trying to consciously point out the correlation between number 20? Do you see what I mean? Or do you try to play it in context of when and how it was written by Mozart? What are you trying to bring to that?
I'm always a context guy.
Okay.
I always am. I got into some raving arguments with Daniel Barenboim, who loved to have huge string sections for the Beethoven symphonies, and I would be cutting back to like 4 stands of violins, because I want to, for me, I always want to hear the music, how the composer heard the music in that context. Nonetheless, I mean, when you're dealing with two concertos like this, I don't really have a choice in the matter. Mozart points out the correlations for us. Yeah. And he's like, hey, I'm going to be working on. I'm going to save this right here. You hear this? You're going to hear it again 10 or 12 years later, except it's going to be bigger and even better.
I have to say that is a fantastic impression of Mozart.
Yeah, I thought he was German. That's the interesting thing.
Hey, Wolfie and I, we go way back.
And there's your promo cut. Yeah,
I like your Barenboim too. That was pretty good.
That was actually spot on.
Daniel Barenboim. It was wonderful working with him for many years in Chicago.
I don't think that I knew there were that many H's in his name. Dahnhiel.
Yeah, there's really, really, really a lot of H's
really
in that name. Well, it's pretty safe to assume he's not going to listen to this, so we can make as much fun of him as we want. Now's your chance, Bill.
Well, someone's going to send him a link. You know it's going to happen. And I'm gonna get
We're going to get a call in on the listener line.
Hey, Bill, what are you doing? Really, I want to know. Huh?
Well,
did you want to say something, Zach, or you want to jump in there?
I just want to say, you say you're a bit of a nerd, and we aren't going to talk about that, but I'd like to. One of the nerdiest things I think you're doing here, Bill, is that you're play conducting. Yeah. And some of our listeners...
And this is not like, toddlers playing that they're conducting. This is... I mean, we have to be careful with the terminology here.
Is it?
It's not like you're not pretending to conduct, right? And you're like, okay, first violin's there, second violin's over there.
Dude, Bill's on the phone thinking, crap, I can't come now. They figured me out. Yeah.
You're blowing my cover. Come on.
So you're really conducting, but you're also playing the piano. Right?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Actually, usually one of the first things I say to an orchestra in this situation is, "You're on your own, kids." I mean,
you say it like that?
Well, pretty much. I mean, I'm busy. I'm arguing with Wolfie down here on the piano. But the thing about it is that it makes it chamber music, which is what it's supposed to be in the first place. Everyone has to be responsible for what they're supposed to be doing, and that's when you make great music. And this is a great situation to do that in. And funny enough, once again, I get to blame Daniel Barenboim for this, because I remember when I first got to Chicago, I saw a concert where he did 3 of the concerti, and I said, I got to get me some of that. I got to do this. And the first one that I ever scheduled to perform was K466, the great D minor, my all-time favorite. And I realized, I'll never forget it, first rehearsal, get to the end of the first movement, I looked down and I said, that's the hardest thing I have ever done in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it is really, really hard. I have now done probably 12 or 14 of the Mozarts, let alone a bunch of other concerti that I play and conduct. And now it's just kind of second nature. But the first couple times through, Matt, it is a serious sweat fest.
Yeah, but the question is it annoying?
No, well, yes, it is annoying, because you know what? You get to a passage and it's hard, and over your left shoulder you can hear Mozart cackling at you. He's like, what you gonna do this time?
No, that's just Merwin in the second violins.
That'd be the right shoulder. Yeah.
Right. It's gonna be the right shoulder.
Yeah, well, if we were in England, though, it'd be over the other shoulder.
Why, did they turn the piano around? Is the orchestra play piano?
That's right.
Well,
the only question I have, are the pedals different? Are the pedals different around? 'Cause that's really
Pedals?
screw me up.
We don't need no stinking pedals.
Do we have the clutch Steinway?
Yeah. This is Mozart, not Rachmaninoff.
it's not a Steinway. It over there they use Jaguars.
Right.
Ooh, very nice.
Well,
Piano falls apart halfway through the concerto.
Right.
Suffers electrical issues. Has to be wheeled off to the edge of the stage.
Need the tuner.
so let's see. So far, we've been a Mozart podcast, a beer podcast.
We've insulted Canadian beer and English cars.
And Daniel Barenboim.
which covers everything.
I think we got everything.
Okay.
The lawyer's going to be calling.
We'll see you at the concert.
Bring your checkbook. Right?
Let's rewind a little bit. Now, Zach, do we get all of your question in about play conducting or no?
Well, I think, Bill, you made some really interesting comments, and your statement about it really being chamber music, it makes me think of an interview I read with Murray Pariah where he said the same thing about
Can you do your Murray Pariah
I'm not
imitation?
going there, but I think Bill has a good one.
Hello, this is Murray Pariah. Where is he from?
Murray Pariah.
Hello.
That doesn't sound anything like Murray Pariah.
I know.
Details. Come on, man. Details. Oh, Lord.
Bill, you have to talk now. We're laughing.
Okay.
Oh, my. Okay, so...
Next.
So why do you find... So learning 5 is annoying, and... K466 you love. Is it that you like minor chord instead of D major? You like D minor, or what should we listen for in your 466?
Well, I do happen to like D minor, which I think is the saddest of all keys.
So you should come to this concert because it's sad and annoying, and only 66% of it is enjoyable.
Right, and that will hopefully be my only Spinal Tap reference of this particular podcast. But you never know.
66.6%. But 66666 is kind of like really, really, really.
Right. But no, I think 466 is actually the most important piano concerto. Actually, the most important concerto ever written.
Really?
It's an incredible piece of music. It is an amazing piece of music.
I think we should let that assertion go entirely unchallenged.
Okay.
What would Daniel Barenboim do?
Conductor, right? I'm the conductor. I get to decide this, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So what if you were here to play the second Beethoven concerto? Would that be the most important concerto ever written?
No. But interestingly enough, it is the next most important concerto. And it's funny that you bring up the B flat, which of course was the first concerto that he wrote, even though it's the second one published, because the B-flat concerto is based on this D minor concerto of Mozart.
Wow.
And the progression goes, you've got the great D minor, and then Beethoven fell in love with this piece, with the D minor concerto.
Yeah.
And he used it as a template to understand the concerto form. He wrote the B-flat concerto based on this concerto, then wrote the C major, which he didn't really think really worked. And so he went back and he used the D minor as a template again, and Beethoven wrote the great C minor concerto, and from then he was off to the races. And every other composer in history has based concerto writing on what Beethoven did and came up with after, in the fourth and the fifth, of course.
Wow,
but it all comes back to this concerto, and we know this because this is the only concerto that Beethoven wrote cadenzas to.
Wow.
Huh.
That was written by a different composer.
So it's kind of like a...
Are you playing the Beethoven cadenza or Hummel?
I have decided to play the Beethoven cadenzas in honor of the Wolfie Ludwig connection.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'll be doing
it's kind of like a big game of Jenga. You know, if you take out that piano concerto number 20, then it all falls apart.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, you know, this is nothing against any of the other apostolic 12, as I call them, number 14 through 25. Every single one of which is a freaking masterpiece. Every single one.
Yeah.
But it's this one that really becomes the concerto, the concerto that spawned everything else when it came to concerto writing.
So if Mozart is number 1 and Beethoven's number 2, what's the number 3 concerto?
That's an excellent question.
Tchaikovsky 1? No, that's like 120.
No.
Mozart Kershaw 175.
No, you would probably have to say, you know, you always have to look at the guys and gals who decide to do something completely radical, and you know, just
Merwin's on the line.
well.
Yeah, he's not cackling.
You're going to bring in the Busoni again, aren't you?
There we
I'm
go.
not, actually, but the first piece that popped into mind was probably the Liszt E-flat.
Huh.
Whoa.
Well,
you know,
Okay, you lost me.
We just had a couple of triple takes here in the studio.
well, it's because
That was my 20th guess.
That like the standard concerto form was just like, it's been done, it's passé. Let's blow it up.
Yeah, I see
And
what you're
so that's
saying.
exactly what he does. And, you know, that leads to a whole different realm of concerto writing.
Including the Busoni.
Including the Busoni. You know, it really does, which is the craziest piece ever written. Oh my
We
God.
were talking about that before we got you on, before we started doing the podcast, actually.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I had to turn pages for that one time. That was just the
What?
wildest experience. Yeah. This is, I don't know, the late 1980s. I was down the New World Symphony, and Michael in his lunacy decided to program the Busoni piano concerto.
Wait, you were turning pages for the conductor or the pianist?
Nope, for the piano. I probably should have turned it for the conductor as well, but yeah, it was really kind of funny just trying to keep track of what was going on, because you know, a lot of octaves.
Yeah, well, that's a long concerto.
It's a long song. It really is. Yeah, it's a strange piece. It's an odd work. Yeah.
So speaking of strange pieces, then, let's talk about Beethoven 4.
That's not your best segue.
All right. So speaking of strange pieces, let's...
Okay.
Wow. Okay,
We've set the
so
stage.
This is a different podcast. Okay. Well,
You're just figuring that out now.
Of all the podcasts I've done this morning,
I'm looking at my soundboard here, see what else I can dig up.
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
The stage is yours.
Wrong concerto. That's the trumpet concerto, right? Opus 60. My favorite symphony in the entire literature, and I think it's the most underrated piece in the entire classical music repertoire. I really do. I think this piece it's such a delight. There's not a note out of place. It's the happiest piece Beethoven ever wrote. And once again, it is also one of the most important pieces ever. And it's because it's this bridge. You know, after he wrote Eroica, he didn't know what he was doing. You know, he started working on this big symphony in C minor, and he couldn't get anywhere. It was just a disaster. And the whole problem was, I mean, how do you write a piece on 4 notes? And he couldn't figure it out. And so it's a great story. I'm actually going to tell this in concert. Merwin, that's a cue. I need a microphone.
Sounds good.
But what happened was, in order to figure out how he was going to write the 5th Symphony, he ended up writing the 4th Symphony, and he used it as a template for how to figure out how to write an entire piece out of 4 notes. And so it's this incredible bridge between 3 and 5. But for some reason, people underrate this symphony, and I'll never understand. I will never understand why, because it is so brilliant and it's so well written. I don't understand why people don't consider this one of the greatest pieces ever written. I really don't. So I never will.
So the boat is going down. You're getting into a lifeboat, and they say, Maestro Bill, you only can take one Beethoven symphony with you. You say the 4th.
Oh, the 4th, hands down. Hands down.
Not just the Beethoven symphony, any symphony.
Any symphony.
Any symphony.
Yeah. You know, it probably would be any symphony, but amongst the Beethoven, the 4th, hands down. It's not even close. It's not even an argument in my world. As I said, I'm delighted. I couldn't be happier and more excited about this program. I'm all fired up. I'm trying to just kind of keep a low key, because I know as soon as I get there, I'm just going to kind of go ballistic, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, I love everything that you've had to say about it, and your enthusiasm and your attitude and all the depth of thought that goes into this program. So we really look forward to your interpretation, having you come perform and rejoin us after all these years.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show. A really good shoe, as what's-his-face used to
Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan, yeah.
That's it. We have a really good show tonight.
Will you be doing impressions before the concert, or?
I hope
yeah,
not.
we do a pre-concert conversation. We'd love to have this in multiple voices.
Can you do? Yeah.
We have
fantastic
Marie
idea.
Pariah, Daniel Barenboim, and Ed Sullivan.
I'm going to have to work up a few others. Just to,
Michael Tilson Thomas.
Come up. Oh, Lord. Oh, no. Please, no.
And the first conductor whose career was killed by a pre-concert conversation.
But not the last.
Right. Are you sure about that?
So the concert is this weekend. It's Saturday, March 3rd at 2:30 in the afternoon. This will be at Lord's University. William Eddins, conductor and piano, 2 concertos by Mozart, and the Symphony No. 4 of Beethoven. Thanks for joining us, Bill.
Hey, it's been my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to the show.
You can find more information at ToledoSymphony.com. You can call up the box office at 419-246-8000. Toledo Symphony Lab is generously underwritten by a gift from the estate of Barbara Garwood and is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony. You can download episodes of this program as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab or subscribing to us on Apple Podcasts. I'm Brad Cresswell. You've been listening to Toledo Symphony Lab here on FM 91.